Imagine a weapon soldiers carried into battle, knowing it could fail them at the worst possible moment. A machine gun that saved lives, yet drove its own users to despair. They cursed it, rebuilt it, even slammed it against the ground in anger, and then picked it up again because there was nothing else. Legends grew around it. Some said a single wrong hit could turn its magazine into useless scrap metal. Others claimed entire assaults failed because of it, leaving gunners exposed under fire. And still, this weapon was used, to the last bullet, to the last breath. On the German side, there was the piercing, terrifying sound of the MG-42, a machine so deadly that even those who had never seen it feared its roar. The Red Army had its own symbol, the DP-27. You've seen it in old war films, the flat round magazine on top, that distinct silhouette, the icon of the Soviet infantry. But in reality, it was not glory, it was struggle. Why did soldiers who survived the inferno of the front call it the curse of the infantry? How did a weapon built for victory turn into a danger for its own men? And why, despite everything, was it the one that made it all the way to Berlin? When the Great Patriotic War began, it became clear that the Red Army needed a light, reliable, and mobile machine gun, something that could work both in defense and in fast-moving attacks. Seconds decided everything on the battlefield, and each one could cost a squad its life. The Germans already had their fearsome MG-42, the very symbol of lethal efficiency. Its rate of fire, its terrifying sound, its precision, all left a deep mark on those who faced it. The Soviets had the DP-27, a weapon that earned both respect and resentment. In movies, it looked powerful, the flat disc, the confident stance. But behind that cinematic image lay frustration and fatigue.
Yet it took over 3 years to pass all the tests and be officially accepted. Once it was approved, it became the first truly mass-produced light machine gun of the Soviet infantry. Its name was short for Degtyaryov infantry. In the West, they called it DP-28 due to a documentation error, but it was the same gun. Almost 800,000 units were built. Later, they would appear far from the Eastern Front, even in the hands of Viet Cong fighters decades later. Like the famous Mosin rifle, it used the powerful 7.62 by 54 mm cartridge, capable of accurate fire up to 800 meters. In theory, that was impressive. In practice, things were different. The real soldiers learned its other side. The DP-27 weighed nearly 12 kilograms with a loaded magazine, and that weight followed you in every step. For a soldier crawling through mud, snow, or ruins, it was torture. Changing positions quickly was nearly impossible. In assault teams, where speed meant survival, every extra kilo felt like a curse. Its most recognizable feature, the top-mounted drum magazine, looked unique but caused endless trouble. It held only 47 rounds and emptied in seconds. Reloading under fire was painfully slow. Each magazine was heavy, and you needed to carry several of them. Soldiers joked, "It's easier to carry the gun without the magazines." But weight wasn't the worst problem. Reliability was. The spring inside the drum was often too weak. A single drop or hit could jam it completely. In battle, where every second counted, that was terrifying. Like the MG-42's belt feed, the DP's disc required patience and dexterity. Reloading it by hand was agony, especially in winter with frozen fingers. Another major issue was overheating. The MG-42's barrel could be swapped in seconds. On the DP-27, it took tools, time, and luck. In combat, that meant one thing: you couldn't do it. Soldiers had to fire in short bursts, pausing constantly to cool the weapon. The suppressive fire it was designed for became cautious, measured shooting. Even the bipod mounts were weak. After a few days of use, they loosened and rattled. Experienced gunners reinforced them themselves with wire, straps, or bits of metal. It became an unwritten rule among troops: if you wanted your DP to survive, fix it yourself.
And yet, despite all its flaws, the DP-27 became a symbol of endurance. It worked in snow, mud, rain, and ruins. It could keep firing even when caked with dirt, something the MG-42 couldn't always handle. Slow, stubborn, but unstoppable. That's what made it survive when nothing else did. Veterans later said, "It was hard to love, but impossible to abandon. It demanded patience, care, and strength, but once mastered, it became part of you." Heavy, awkward, imperfect, yet when the moment came, it was the DP that covered retreats, held positions, and saved lives. On the front, it earned nicknames: the Iron, the Pancake, the Degtyar. Each name told a story, and behind all those names stood one feeling: respect. Not admiration, not pride, but respect for a weapon that simply did its job, no matter what. By the end of the war, technology had moved forward, and the DP-27 was slowly replaced. But in the memories of veterans, it remained the weapon that stood beside them in their darkest hours. When peace returned, thousands of DPs were stored away, yet many went on to fight in Korea, in Vietnam, in other wars far from home. Under different skies, in different hands, it still roared the same dry metallic sound, a ghost from another war. Today, the DP-27 lives on, in museums, in movies, in games. For some, it's a relic, for others a symbol of endurance and grit. But behind every scratch and bullet mark lie the stories of those who carried it. They didn't love it for its weight or its flaws, but they trusted it enough to reach Berlin with it. And maybe that's the true paradox of the DP-27. A weapon that no one adored, yet one that became a part of victory itself. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't easy, it wasn't loved, but it endured. And through it, the soldier's greatest strength was revealed: to adapt, to persist, and to go on, no matter what.